morning, everyone. My name is Ken Albert, and I'm President and CEO for Androscoggin Home Healthcare and Hospice, and I want to welcome you to this virtual butterfly release. When we began planning this event, we didn't really know what the public health requirements would be, so we used a virtual approach again this year, despite our strong desire to get together in person. But I promise you, absent some unforeseen circumstances, we will be together next year for an in-person live butterfly release. But whether in person or virtual or even perhaps both, we will continue to find a way to celebrate the lives of our loved ones with the release of butterflies, with our memories, and with all of our hearts. I want to start by saying a big thank you to all of you. Your generosity in purchasing butterflies really helps us raise much needed funds for those in need of compassionate end-of-life care at the Hospice House. Last year, Androscoggin provided over $1.4 million in free care for those who could not otherwise pay for care and services. To put that in better perspective, that's 941 patients that we served in 2020 who really could not afford their care, and we just could not turn away. Events like this help us to offset those costs, and I think that's a cause that we can all be proud of. Hospice is a respected, multidisciplinary approach to care coordination. It has been a movement in the United States since the 1970s, but really not a benefit within Medicare since the 1980s, and really stemmed from the work of Dame Cicely Saunders, both a nurse and a physician in the United Kingdom. And we are sure making progress here in the United States so that we can have access to dignified end-of-life care, but talking about end-of-life remains a challenge for individuals and their families, largely based on our culture. We just don't want to talk about it. But you know, and I know, don't we, that death, though emotionally painful, is simply a part of life on many, many levels. If we don't personally take the opportunity to shape our life's end, or talk with our loved ones about our desires, death will come and go without consideration for how we want the final chapters in our life to be written. We all need the courage, really, and to foster the courage in those around us to have conversations, not about death necessarily, but about how we want to live until our dying day. Conversations with family, friends, our healthcare providers, to discuss again how it is that we really want to live as we head into the final stages of our lives. In my work, I talk with countless patients and families, primary care physicians and nurse practitioners, and many hospice professionals. And what I know for sure is this: hospice is not about death. It is not about death. Rather, hospice is about improving quality of life. Dr. Atul Gawande wrote in his following passage in his wildly famous book, Being Mortal: I am leery of suggesting the idea that endings are controllable. No one ever really has control. Physics, biology, and accident ultimately have their way in our lives. But the point is that we are not helpless either. Courage is the strength to recognize both realities. One, that we don't have control, but two, that we are not helpless. We have room to act. We have room to shape our own stories. Our most cruel failure can be how we treat the sick and the aged. And that failure is to recognize that they have priorities beyond merely safety and living longer. The failure to recognize that the chance to shape one's story is essentially sustaining the meaning of life. Let me say that again. The chance to shape one's story is essential to sustaining the meaning of life. And the failure to recognize that we have the opportunity to refashion our culture, our conversations in ways that transform the possibilities for the last chapters in everyone's life. Ladies and gentlemen, I submit to you that the work of hospice has always been to transform the possibilities for the last chapters in life, to shift what has been a really highly medicalized experience to a very human experience. If we believe that life has meaning, and if you're here with me, you certainly do, then we must also believe that our lives have meaning, even in the face of serious illness and even in the face of death. And frankly, far beyond, based on the energy and the legacy that we leave behind. Please join me and my staff and our hospice volunteers in spreading the wisdom of end-of-life conversations. Together, we can change our culture. In closing, I would like to acknowledge that for hundreds of years, all around the world, the butterfly has been the symbol of change, rebirth, and the spirit. The metamorphosis of a caterpillar into a beautiful butterfly has long been used as a metaphor for death, watching our loved one transition from this life into spirit. I hope that the image of these butterflies today helps you remember your loved one and serve as a reminder that their spirit does live on. On behalf of the patients, their families, our staff and volunteers, thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you for your generous support. And thank you again for the courage to help us advance the mission of hospice in Maine. Please enjoy this butterfly release.
Last week, I think it was Thursday, Kathy and I were talking about this event today of the butterfly release, and we were thinking, what would we say from the vantage point of both our professional roles? And so we have a thought, and if we had a choice, we would invite you into our living room setting, and here we would talk about loss and pain at time of death and after. And so we both will share a moment or two about what we find would be important and what we would like to share with you. For me, as a minister for over 40 years, knowing, as so many people do, that the realities of life are, and dependable, are birth and death. And birth is such a celebration. And no matter how we think we've prepared for death and we know the journey toward it and we know what to anticipate, when it happens, it's devastating, life-changing, and oftentimes very painful to deal with. And so I want to talk for a moment about what that's like for us. Now for me, just last week, I think it was Monday actually, on my Facebook page, a history, a memory of my life came up, as they often do in all of our Facebook pages if we're on that type of media. And it was from my friend Jackson. 3 years to the day, she had posted a picture on my Facebook page for me. Not long after she posted that picture, she died of cancer, way too young. At that time, I thought, oh my gosh, I just don't know how I'm going to go on. What will we do? How will it happen? And yet, last Monday, when I opened that Facebook page note, a smile came to my face. I remembered my relationship with her. I remembered how wonderful she was and how much a part of my life she is today. Gosh, if you were sitting here today, I would be inviting you to remember the butterfly evolves from the cocoon. We are all evolving. We're all finding our way through pain. We are all together learning and becoming new and different persons. We're kind of discovering a new normal for our lives. And that spiritual path that we take in our varied ways can help us get there.
Al, I love listening to you, and I love being able to be in dialogue with you today. And I love this idea that you are all with us today as well. I think about symbols and signs that we have throughout our lives that connect us to our loved ones that have passed on. Just now I saw a cardinal fly by the window that I'm looking out, and I think about the importance of birds and butterflies and that journey of life, that they all every year come back to my house and nest in the same place and bring new life into the world. I think of those butterflies who travel miles and miles and miles to get here through such hardship, and each year they come back. So as we celebrate this butterfly release today, think about that resilience and that perseverance and that dedication to this journey that we're all on, from the smallest of insects to the largest of animals, and then of course all of us. So I think about, from my professional perspective, Al, as a social worker, I'm always looking for change and growth and this metamorphosis. And I have seen across my lifespan for myself, my family, and many others that I have worked with, this complete metamorphosis, even in the face of suffering. And even often because of the suffering, be it the suffering of loss, because you have loved so deeply, the loss is often greater and harder. Because of trauma that we've been through, be it what we've all been through really in this year, but also many other forms of trauma and our recovery process through that. So I think about these opportunities for transformation, and I think about the symbolism of the butterfly and that concept of that profound metamorphosis of change that we all go through at different stages of our lives. And like you, Al, I was thinking about this, and I believe it was on Sunday for me, that I was going through some of my mother's things. My mother is who brought me here to hospice, to work here at Androscoggin Home Health Care and Hospice when she came onto the hospice benefit. And I was just going through some of her things. It's her 10th year anniversary from her death. And I came across this poem, and it came out of the things that were in folders that I hadn't gone through yet. And it spoke of us all being on a train and all going through this train of life where we get on it when we're born, just like you, thinking about birth, and then at some point our parents get off and they move on, just as my mother and my father have. And then we meet other people on this train. We develop some relationships with some of them that are very in depth and deep, and others are just very short and but sometimes profound even when they're short relationships. And so I think about this train of life and this metamorphosis, this stage that we move through from one thing to the next, and all the opportunities that we have for such transformation. When I think of all of you out there today, I'm thinking about your loss and how hard that is. We know. We're there with you. Nobody escapes this life without experiencing loss. But I think today we have some thoughts for you, some things that we hope will help you on that journey so that you can transform.
What we know is that the pain of loss will lessen, or it can lessen, and we can predict that it will. What we know is that our lives will be a new normal, a different way of being in the world, and we can do well with that. And what we do know is that despite how devastating life has been, we can continue and we can go on.
live my life the best I can. You said you'd wait around the bend until we share this space again. But the promise that I made you, it's not a simple one to keep. Days are long and troubled, and nights of restless sleep. And I'm calling out to you, and I'm calling out to you. I hope my words will make it through. Out there, somewhere way beyond the blue, way beyond the blue. Sorrow is an owl calling, like it called the night you died. Lost my balance, I was falling, unprepared to say goodbye. Though I know we all must face this, and that living still goes on, I long for one more chorus as I cherish your last song. And I'm calling out to you, and I'm calling out to you. I hope my words will make it through. Out there, somewhere way beyond the blue, way beyond the blue. Wisdom has a way of painting the signs and symbols I should know, buried in those songs and letters is the message, let it go. Oh, let the sunlight of each daytime brighten up the darkest night. Let the memories of your lifetime here clear the dimming of your sight. And I'm calling out to you, and I'm calling out to you. I hope my words will make it through. Out there, somewhere sending warmth to my deep freeze. Time is like an ancient healer, it's precious hours we have to live. I know you'll wait around the bend and hope I'll be with you again. So I'm calling out to you, and I'm calling out to you. I hope my words will make it through. Out there, somewhere, way beyond the blue, way beyond the blue, way beyond the
in honor of John A. Ayotte, Donna Beaulieu, Linda DeStefano, Frida Pat Hart, Patrick J. King, Sandra Matier, Gerald L. Poussard, Nathania Nan Tooker, Janet Tucker, R.N. In memory of Patricia Anktil, Scott Anktil, Hildred Ashton, Shannon Atkinson, Kim Bavaro, Donna Beaulieu, Lucienne Beaulieu, Dorothy Midget Beecraft, William Joseph Beecraft Jr., Anne Bellegarde, Jean Bellegarde, Grace Bellegarde, Edward Berlin, Carolyn Bickford, Irene Vingelis, Frank Wayne Birch, Gary E. Blay, Benjamin Blaisdell, George Blaisdell, Joan Blaisdell, Jean Arthur Bouchard, Marty Boyd, Roger Hodgkin Briggs, Wally Brigham, William Brown, Donald Bryant, Janine Bryant, Darren L. Burgess, Betty A. Cagley, Byron I. Campbell II, Jordan Olivia Karen, Susan I. Karen, Therese Chabot, Maurice Shampoo, Pauline Shampoo, John Everett Chandler, Elaine M. Chenard, Annette Clark, Donald Clark, Patricia Clark. Rick Cleaves. Maurice R. Cloutier. Michelle Cody. John H. Collins. Kevin P. Collins. Kevin Patrick Collins. Ralph Conant. Keith Cornelio. Kenneth B. Cody. Madeline G. Cody. Roger E. Cody. Patricia Dambois. Cecile Damour. Alphonse DeRozier. Lorette Druin. Maurice Druin. Paul Dufour. Ronald Charles Dufour. Richard Dumais. Donna Dunn. Barbara Dunn Roy. Armeline Duquette. Rosaire Duquette. John Durfee. Harry Elliott Jr. Winifred Winnie Evans. The Bossy Godbout family. The Goulet family. Loretta B. Feely. Michael Forgs. Robert Forgs. Roland Forgs. Nancy Frankhauser. Susan Frankhauser. Judy May Fraser. Aldina Frazee. Antoinette M. Gagne. Adele Gagnon. Annette Gagnon. Norm Gagnon. Normand R. Gagnon. Michael Philip Gamache. Deanne Marie Getchell. Alta Guyson. Andre Guyson. Bruce Glines. Marie R. Goding. Gordon E. Gondek. Lorraine M. Gondek. Mr. and Mrs. Albert Gondek Sr. Shirley Goodman. Martha Goodwin. Pauline Gosselin. Eugene Greenleaf III. Eugene Greenleaf Jr. Merlene Greenwood. Frida Pat Hart. Sylvia Hasenblas. Larry E. Hawley. Bertha Hilton. Geneva M. Hodgkins. Marguerite Penny G. Hodgkins. William S. Hodgkins. James Michael Holland. Tammy Houle. Elwin Dad Hutchins. Elwin Hutch Hutchins. Rosaire Rosie Jalbert. Norma Jane Johnson. Cecile Jutras. Charles Al Calick. Ernest Keene. M. Josephine Kelly. Joseph G. Kelly Sr. James Kenny. Carrie Kerr. Anita LaChapelle. Julie Leahy. Betty Lane. Jane M. Lane. George M. Lavoie. Douglas Ledoux, Edward Ledoux, Kevin Ledoux, Rachel Ledoux, Grace Legier, Victoria Layton, Rita Letourneau, Barbara A. Libby, Dot Legouche, Kay Legouche, Kristen Linscott, Richard Lopes, Ethan Lucier, Daniel F. Leiden, Mary E. Leiden, Laurier Mayotte, Marie Mayotte, Clayton Manson, Mary C. Morrow, Peter Morrow Sr., Edward S. McClure, Penny McKenna, Jean Paul Meservier, Julie Ann Morin, Roger M. Morin, Jean Morrell, John B. Muir, Gloria J. Murray, Barbara Mushlet, Ralph Nedo, Roland A. Nedo, Edith Newman, Tiffany Norwood, Kenneth O'Connell, Bernard Buddy O'Connor, Vincent O'Connor, Ruth Olson, Gary B. Olson, Jim O'Neill, Jack Gustav Oswald, David Willett, Fernand Willett, Irene Willett, Louis Barnabas Payne II, Beverly Payton, Daniel H. Pelletier, Mr. and Mrs. Harry J. Pelletier, Arthur H. Perkins, Scott R. Perkins, Brenda Lee Perry, Robert A. Perry, Mildred P. Peterson, Lucienne Petrin, Therese Petrin, Betty Philippon, Joseph Philippon, Alfred Pomerleau, Doris C. Poole, William A. Poole, Claire Potbin, Richard Potbin, Romeo E. Poulin, Donna Proctor Melville, Norman Prevention, Antoinette Quirian, Lucille Room, Roger E. Richard, Phyllis Richardson, David Walter Robinson, Lawrence E. Russell, Leo Savard, Lucille Savard, Tara Lynn Skerald, Thelma Siemens, Zach Small, Sherry Smith Marquette, Robert Soper, Marjorie S. Stalch, Richard and Carol Tarsi, Julie Ann Taylor, Seymour Tettenman, Baby Thibodeau, Nancy Thibodeau, Beverly Thomas, Ludger Jean Tremblay, Percy Tripp, Janet Turcott, Richard C. Turcott, Cindy L. Tuttle, Herb Tuttle, Bob Tomoko, Elizabeth Upton, Bert Valley, Jim Valley, Mary Mack Wakefield, Robert D. Wakefield, M.D., Anna Walker, Richard G. Waters, Sr., Walter Webster, Steve Welgoss, Kathy Wells, Kenneth A. White, Patricia Whitney, Burton S. White, Kelly P. White, Cheryl Wilson, Dana Witham, Hilda Witham, Jim Wood, Sandra Wood, Mr. and Mrs. William Wright, Althea Zimmerman, J.
When I am gone, release me, let me go. I have so many things to do and see. You mustn't tie yourself to me with too many tears, but be thankful. We had so many good years. I gave you my love, and you can only guess how much you've given me in happiness. I thank you for the love that you have shown. But now it's time for me to travel alone. So grieve for me a while. If grieve you must, then let your grief be comforted by trust that it is only for a while that we must part. So treasure the memories within your heart. I won't be far away, for life goes on. And if you need me, call, and I will come. Though you can't see or touch me, I will be near. And if you listen with your heart, you'll hear all my love around you, soft and clear. And then, when you come this way alone, I'll greet you with a smile and say, welcome home. Finally, Lao Tzu wrote, that great ancient philosopher and theologian, what the caterpillar perceives as the end, to the butterfly, is just the beginning. We are all beginning again.